Hey, I've been getting a lot of people asking me about the story with my daughter, my nonverbal autistic daughter, and how lion's mane helped. And there's not, I feel like, a lot of discussion um, as to actual experiences with lion's mane. I've been thinking about it, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna put my story out there. I'm no influencer. I don't really have a channel, but if this can be useful to anyone, I'm putting it out. And the long and short of it is, lion's mane was a miracle for our family and getting our daughter to be able to start speaking again. Um, so to get into the longer story of it, um, like a lot of autistics, she was the case where she was talking at the normal rate. I have videos of her at a young age singing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and then at some point the language left, and I don't know what day it happened, but just slowly, I guess it would have been like a lot of parents report around 18 months, that language left, and no matter what we did, we couldn't get it to come back. um, it seemed to be like she had two slots for a word, and it could be an approximation and maybe go or something like that. And it started to get really discouraging. I had done everything that the doctors recommended. She was in full day preschool, specialized preschool with ABA therapy, and just wasn't getting the language. And it was really frustrating and sad. She didn't say mom, didn't say yes or no. Just kind of and sometimes go. And even though it seemed like we would work really hard to give her a new word, and then she would drop one of the other ones, and it was getting discouraging. And I think it was a miracle, but we were I was on a work trip with my husband, and she was home with her siblings and her biological dad. And I was missing her and talking to my husband and crying and just saying, what can we do? And if you're a parent who has a nonverbal child, you know how that feels. So I was praying a lot, and I I just on a whim, when we were out there, we were overworked one day, and we don't even watch much TV, but I said we should watch something, and watch this Netflix show, Fantastic Fungi. It's a great one if you haven't seen it. A lot of people have. And so I just happened to watch this show, and I didn't ever think about mushrooms really, but they was talking about how the trees, can use this mycelium network to at a simple level communicate, and all these things that I'd never known. And I was really fascinated by it, and how fungi is so closely related to our bodies. And then there was the story of Paul, I think it's Stamens, however he says his last name, and the well-known guy. A lot of people hear him on Joe Rogan or whatever, but he tells the story of that he had a very severe stutter, took a bag of magic mushrooms, and it reset his brain, and he has no stutter today. And of course, I knew I'm not going to give psilocybin to my 4-year-old daughter. It's not even legal. That's pretty intense stuff, and I wouldn't recommend it. Anybody do that, especially to a child that doesn't know what's going on. But it did make me curious. How does something go to your mind like that? I mean, most things you eat has to be digested, but fungi can penetrate the blood-brain barrier, if I understand it all correctly. And so I just wanted to know more. And I guess I should say too that I'm no doctor. This is not medical advice, for entertainment purposes only, whatever you have to say, right? But I started emailing people. I actually emailed Paul's company. I emailed people from universities, just like, what can I do? And at some point, someone emailed me back, and they kind of said carefully, without saying, they had, they're not a doctor either, but they said, you really ought to look into lion's mane. And I thought, okay, what's this? And it turns out lion's mane is a fungi that is not addictive. It's not a hallucinogen. it's like eating carrots or something, it's pretty safe. There's not really very many documented side effects. Maybe some nausea if you have too much of it, but pretty safe. It's a good mushroom, and what its superpower seems to be, if you look at your own research on it, but it seems to be that it repairs nerve damage, and that can help with the gut if you have, what they say is leaky gut, or receptors aren't working properly in the brain, and even mood regulation. These things can be improved with properly functioning nerves that it seems to repair them. And it's new. The research seems to be just getting going. I wish there was more. It seems like everyone's all excited, and mushrooms and fungi seems to be the trend right now. But what I found was that it's already showing promising things for Alzheimer's and other conditions. And so I thought, I'm just going to try this. And I tried to get on YouTube and see if other people have had big stories, but there really wasn't much out there other than people talking about what it can do for you, but I didn't hear many experiences. So with that in mind, if you've had an experience with lion's mane, let me know, because I'm just wanting to network with other people but that have had maybe similar experiences. But to move the story along, we got back and I did order some. I just got it in powder form. I knew she wouldn't take pills, but I put it in a salt shaker, with plans to give it to her. And I don't know if this was divine or coincidence, or if it even was relevant, but the way it played out was when I got back, she was really sick. She had an ear infection. So she was on an antibiotic. They gave her amoxicillin. And I now wonder if that didn't somehow work well to be the case before introducing lion's mane. I know that bacteria and fungi can be basically natural enemies. If you're trying to grow mushrooms, you have to kill all the bacteria because they compete for the same resources and all this. And I don't know if that was a factor or not. I'm wondering. And so again, if you know people who can shed light on this, get me in touch with them. But I do wonder now if maybe her body would have been sort of a clean slate with having taken an antibiotic, and then we introduce fungi, and it can maybe do its job better. I don't know, but I know that we started giving her the lion's mane, and on day 5, she came in our room and said the dog's name in the morning, and then she said my husband's name, and I was shocked. I just thought, whoa, I mean, here she hadn't even said mom or all these other things, and now she just says the dog's name clear as day. And she wasn't even parodying, copying me. She was just saying words that she already knew from listening, just couldn't say them before. And we go upstairs and she said owns for orange and Sisso for cereal. And I just thought, is this really happening? And the next day, we're running around trying to get her to say more and more. And by the next day, I remember putting her on speakerphone, calling my mom. And I said, say hi, Nana. And she said, hi, Nana. And I said, say, I like chocolate. And she said, chocolate. So my mom is, oh my gosh. And so it just went on like this. By the end of the month, she had all her colors and her numbers. And it was just like an avalanche of language, to the point that it was almost kind of weird, to be honest. I didn't expect I hoped for improvement, but I just didn't expect this. And we were going to bed, and my husband would say, do you really think this is the lion's mane? And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, people still ask me that, and I'm like, I can't know for sure, but I can tell you that the timing sure adds up, because if you did a graph of her progress, even in all this therapy and everything we did, it looked like a plateau and then a huge spike all of a sudden when we introduced the lion's mane. So of course we continued to give it to her. People ask me how many doses and what kind I got. So again, it's such a new thing. There's no official dose, But I just give her all I can, to be honest. I just sneak it in food, and I hit my hand on the top a lot until it looks like a good amount has fallen into the food. I would guess somewhere between a teaspoon and a tablespoon a day. If I'm lucky and I get it in everything that, and she's willing to eat it. If she sees it, she won't eat it. I have to be sneaky. But I've found the taste is similar to bread, maybe. It tastes to me a little bit like cream of wheat or something. So I find if I put it with grains, she's less likely to notice. So I would put it inside of her peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and smear it in with the peanut butter, or I would put it on her cereal and then pour the milk on top of that to kind of hide it. Um, in Ovaltine, I would even melt down. She loves chocolate, so I would melt down low sugar chocolate bars and mix it, a lot of it in that melted, and reharden it out and break that into pieces and give her that. So just any way I can get it. And I've even started including niacin drops, which I've heard recommended from Paul Stamens, however you say his name again, on Joe Rogan and some places. He said if you use niacin, it seems to kind of let the fungi get deeper into the blood vessels or something like that. So obviously I'm not an expert, but I just was doing what I could because that's all we can do, and it seemed to work. Whatever I was doing was working. Today she just rattles nonstop and sings and has full sentences. She's still just a little behind just because she didn't start talking till she was 4. And she still stims a little bit, but she's a different person. And when we went to the reunion that year, my sister-in-law pulled me aside and said, "This makes me want to cry. Like, she's not even the same girl. She used to hide under her arm like this, and now here she is talking to everybody, playing games, laughing, and talking about unicorns and just everything, right?" So, I just share this because, not to give false hope. Again, I think maybe some people react to things in amazing ways and others don't. And I know it can be discouraging, so I don't want to promise the world to anybody. But in case this helps, I wanted to put it out there. I also wanted to put it out there just if there's people who are experts on this that could maybe shed a little light on what was going on with this. I did talk to someone from a university here in Utah, and he was in the mycology lab there, and he gave me some insights, and he said, I think it basically helps, make the receptors work better. But again, I'm wondering, why was her case so extreme? I don't know if that's because something to do with after the amoxicillin. I don't know if it's because she reacts to things more than most do. I know that when we gave her a steroid once, for example, another time when she was sick, she had such I guess they call it roid rage, but she screamed for like a whole day, and it was so bad. It was so bad. I mean, the whole day. It was like she was possessed or something. And I called the doctor and I said, "Is this normal? Because it's so extreme." And they said, "Well, sometimes they get kind of moody." But she was beyond moody. By the end of the day, she had dark rings under her eyes from screaming so much, and we could not calm her down. I mean, it really was like she screamed the whole day. And then after that, next morning, just back to normal. So reacting to that steroid was more than I've ever heard of anyone else's and any of my friends' kids. So she could just react to things more than the average person. The other thing I want to say is we don't know enough about autism. There's more questions than there are answers. And I've wondered if my child's, whatever is the issue that causes autism in my child, might be different than what's going on with someone else's child. And I've heard this phrase before, if you've met one autistic, you've met one autistic. So, I don't want to give false promises, but at the same time, I want to put that out there in case there's someone like me who's just like, what else can I try? And if you're looking for something to try, I would think about it. The stuff I got was just off of Amazon. It wasn't a fancy anything. I do want to say that it's probably worth looking at the company you use. Um, I know I heard on a podcast that they can call it 100% mushroom even if it has grain fillers in it, as long as they grew it on that grain. And so that's something to look for and to check. I'm a little bit suspicious of a lot of these, like mixture drinks that say they have all this mushroom stuff in it. I don't know. They're probably good, but if you're really trying to make use of something medicinally, I would get with from a company that you trust. I wasn't made of money, so I can probably put in the comments down here what I used. I'm not even so sure it was the best company ever. Um, if I had tons of money, I would probably just honestly buy from Paul Stamen's company, and I don't have an affiliation with them. I would like to. I would like to talk to them, but um, I just kind of trust them because I like him. I like what he says. I like his passion for trying to help people with fungi, and he has a personal story with it. So I would trust that he would care about quality. Um, but his products cost a little more. So if you're on a tight budget like I was, you might have to try something more affordable. So just do whatever. If you want to try it, do whatever works for you. But of course, I'm not. I'm sharing my story is really what this is for anyone that it's beneficial to. And I'll try to put in the comments the exact stuff we use, but again, I don't necessarily stand by it. It's just what we used. So please put in the comments if you have any insights into this. I'd also love to know if anyone else has had these huge, amazing experiences with lion's mane, or if we're just like really lucky or blessed. But this is long enough. Looks like I'm rambling on at this point. So, yeah, hopefully this helps somebody out there. And I guess put in the comments if you have any questions.